Good morning. We can try that again. Good morning. Well, if you weren't awake, you're awake now. All right, so this morning, as is our new custom, we are going to start our service with a few hymns, and I invite you, hopefully my mic will be on, and there we go. And I invite you to join us. Our first one is hymn 108 in your hymnal. Hymn 108, My Life Flows On. My life flows on in endless song of His lamentation. I hear the will, the far off sin that gives a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echoes in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What good and help is from behold. I know the truth it liveth. What good and dark is from behold. Something the light it giveth. No stormy shade my ears along, while to thy rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To praise the seven and magnify, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? And the words to our next one are on your program, and it just says, Holy, 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 my heart adores you. My heart is glad to say the words, you are holy. And we'll start with the English. Holy, 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 my heart adores you. My heart is glad to say the words, you are holy. One more time, holy. Holy, 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 my heart adores you. My heart is glad. To say the words, you are holy. My heart adores you. last hymn is 27 in your gray hymnal. 27 in your gray hymnal. I am the great and fiery force. Since this is a new one to some of us, I'm going to ask the choir and myself, we're going to sing verse 1, and then we're going to loop back and ask you to join us.
Let's try again. Oh, there we are. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. It wasn't you, it was my mic. You did a great job. I'm Reverend Ali Casey Bell. My pronouns are he, they, or Reverend Ali. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church.
On this beautiful, gorgeous fall day.
Isn't it great?
It is.
It really is.
I just love the windows
It
this
is.
time of the year. So,
Yeah.
good morning. Good morning. I'm Abhi Janamanchi, and my pronouns are he and him. And I, too, welcome you to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your beliefs, your gender identity, immigration status, or disability, and wherever you are situated this morning, in person or at home, we invite you to bring your whole self here.
Yes. If you're joining us for the first time today, please raise your hand if you're in person, and someone will bring you a little surprise. Oh, come on, don't be, oh, there's a hand.
All right.
It's going to be a cool surprise. Surprise! And you can add your name in the chat if you're joining us online. You're invited to complete the newcomer form that will be linked in the chat, and you'll receive your surprise wherever you are. And if you're new or feeling newish, you're welcome to meet with the minister after service.
Yes, and I will be available in the library today.
Oh, in the library?
No, I can be here too.
I think we should do it here. What do you
All
think?
right, sure.
It's nice and open.
Yep, so I'll just be hanging out here after the service, so any of you are guests, newcomers, or even some of you who want to hang out, join me, and we'll have a nice conversation.
Yes. Yeah, that'll be great. And I noticed when you came in, you may see that we have some different decorations here today. And if you're like me, you may or may not have read your email or looked at Realm or, let's see what else, read the e-news.
E-news.
So if you have a loved one that you'd like to remember during our ritual of remembrance, there are hearts, paper hearts in the back, and maybe still some leaves that our membership coordinator, Nicole, will bring up to us. Nicole, so if you just raise your hand, I'm sure Nicole will find you and bring them to you. So if you need something to write your loved one's name on for our remembrance ritual, just raise your hand, and Nicole will bring you a heart or a leaf or something so that you can put it up here for our remembrance. Nicole?
We have a few hands up here.
You just need to bring them the basket. Yep, and a couple of the pens that you got. Awesome.
Thank you.
Our pastoral visitors are here today.
Yes, in strength.
Yes, they are. If you're a pastoral visitor, do you mind standing up for a second? Just let everybody see who you are. Today it's really important to recognize our pastoral visitors because, first of all, it's Pastoral Care Appreciation Week. And so if we could just give our pastoral visitors a round of applause. Thank you for all of the work that you do. And secondly, this service may be very touching and tender for some of us. It may bring up some emotions that you weren't quite sure that you were going to be feeling as deeply as you do. And if you are feeling those emotions, any of those people that just stood up are welcome and willing to come and talk to you and be with you in that time. Our person who is signed up to be the pastoral visitor today is Angela Wall. And Angela is right there. Go ahead, Angela. And just, you see Angela over there? And Angela is also happy to assist you. Angela is here, and we also have people in the chat who can help you.
And as always, we have a couple of announcements. I hope you will join us for some fun today at 12:30 in the parking lot by the Culver Street area for our multi-generational trunk or treat, which is an awesome gathering where we have children and adults from our neighborhood who come together to celebrate Halloween and interact and get to know each other and get to know about our congregation. So please join us. As you see, Reverend Ali and I have dressed up.
Yes.
Just to give you a hint that it is going to be Halloween. And since I guess at least I lack imagination, so I dressed up as a minister.
I came as a minister. Look at that. Ah.
Also, we will have our Dare to Dream raffle. You know, the winners will be announced today, so it's a very special day. So if you had bought tickets and you're curious, who knows? You may go home with $5,000 today. So please join us.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
I told them that Ali only has one I. It's a very short name, so it should be easy to write it on the big check. But, you know, they told me that it's a raffle. They have to, like, draw it.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Well,
So-
if you get to do the drawing, Ali,
I know.
you could contrive something.
They were really serious about it. We're cutting out all the names and we're folding it. Nobody let me in there just to put my name like 100 times.
Right.
I don't know what that was about, but okay.
So, and next Sunday, you know, a fire is an event that we hope never occurs.
Ever.
Yep. However, preparedness is vital. So, we get to practice, not lighting a fire, but going through a fire drill. Yes,
We're
so
watching
next
you.
Sunday, November 6th, immediately following the service, we will be doing our annual fire drill. And we will be sending out some guidelines and instructions during the week. Watch out for them. And we will all do this together, and it will be good. And following that, we will have our annual memory wall dedication, where we will be remembering and memorializing some of our beloved members who passed away in the past year at the memory wall by the Chalice House. You're welcome to join us for this annual remembrance ritual. And then following that, we have a very special event that our 8th Principle Embodiment Group is hosting, which is going to be a conversation, an immersive conversation about Haiti.
Yes, it's going to be beautiful. There will be food. There will be a Haitian person giving us a whole experience and learning about Haiti that is decolonized from the things that we know of Haiti so far. We really would like you to go ahead and sign up and join the Haitian afternoon.
At 12:30. Mm-hmm. And so, as we enter this time of reflection and remembrance, connection and community, we acknowledge that we gather on the ancient lands of the Nacotchtank people, from which the name Anacostia is derived. They are a part of the Piscataway group of tribes. We honor with gratitude the land and the people who have worked on this land for generations.
We gather in remembrance of those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. We gather in gratitude for all who have gone before, whose love and labor helped create and sustain the mission and ministry of this religious community. In this spirit,
we gather.
And in this spirit, we
begin.
Let us greet and welcome each other. Hey, Abhi, how you doing?
Hey, Ali.
It's such a wonderful thing to see everybody here and see so many wonderful faces. I'm going to invite you now to please stand and sing with us hymn 103. Again, I'm going to ask you to put your conversations aside now, and we're going to rejoin worship with hymn 103 for all the saints. Please stand.
That was beautiful. And if you didn't come up right now, you don't feel no worry, no strife. We will have another time in the service that we will come up to the altar and put our names and our remembrances on the altar. So there's no worry, no hurry. We're all just going to settle back into ourselves, and we're going to be all right. All righty. The wind brings your names. We will never dissever your names, nor your shadows beneath each branch and tree. The truth comes in on the wind, is carried by water. There's such a thing as truth. Tell us how you got over. Say, soul, I look back in wonder. Your names were never lost, each name a holy word. The rocks cry out. Call out each name to sanctify this place. Sounds in human voices, silver or soil, a moan or a sorrow song, a keen, a cackle, harmony, a hymnal, a handbook, a chart, a sacred text, a stomp, an exhortation. Ancestors, you will find us still in cages, despised and disciplined. You will find us still misnamed. Here you will find us you will find us not extinct. You will find us here memoried and storied. You will find us here mighty. You will find us here divine. You will find us where you left us, but not as you left us. Here you endure and are luminous. You are not lost to us. The wind carries sorrows and sighs and shouts. The wind brings everything. Nothing is lost.
Good morning. I'm Barb Warman, the worship associate for today's service. My pronouns are she, her. As a quartet kindles the chalice, a symbol of our shared faith and gathered community, please share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. And those of you in the sanctuary, please rise in body and/or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. As we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision. Their courage lives on in our commitments. And their love continues to bless the world through us.
Now is the time that we have set aside to remember our loved ones. the ones who have transitioned from the physical realm. Please bring your items of remembrance forward and place them on the altar in front of us.
If you don't have a memento with you, or were not able to receive an autumn leaf when you came into the congregation this morning, we do have more leaves here available for you to write the names of your loved ones. And as you have already guessed, we will start from the back and make our way forward. And even if you have placed names and want to remember others, you may add more names and come forward at this time. And for those who are joining us from home, please name in the chat what you are placing on our virtual altar. Let us be part of this ritual of remembrance. Our altar continues to be open to receive your remembrances.
And as you travel to place your precious items on the altar, let it remind you that we also travel in time. We are on a journey traveling to a space and time set apart for remembering, set apart for holding ourselves in this liminal space of spirit and relationship, in this space of tenderness and courage. You can come around on all sides.
I invite you to envision those you love. Call them to you. Recall their faces. Remember their touch, their smile. Let them know that they too are not forgotten. And as the memories wash over you and through you, allow yourself to be there with them now. Allow yourself to feel their presence, to hear, smell, touch, and be seen. In this eternal mystery we call life, we don't know how everything works. We do know that with just a little curiosity, we leave ourselves open for great possibility, great imagining, great connection.
And as you connect to your loved ones, also connect to the people around you. Feel their vibration, their heat signature, their presence. In this connection, we are grounded to our present. In this connection, we are breathing life into our now. For we don't know how everything works, but we do know that no human is meant to go at this living alone. No one who is grieving is meant to grieve alone by themselves. Everyone here has a community that can hold them in their grief.
This community can hold us in our grief. And as we lean into this community, let us speak the names of the ones who have transitioned from their physical bodies. Let us speak the names of our loved ones out loud so that we may all know their names. And for our online community, please share the names of those you wish to be remembered into the chat.
Yusuf Bell, Matthew Taylor, Pamela Gant. Let us remember the names spoken here today, intermingled with the names of our own loved ones. Let us remember that we are humans living in our human experience. Let us remember that life exists in more than our bodies.
Let us remember that we are consecrated by atoms of hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and oxygen.
Yes.
Physically, our bodies will pass away as they were designed to do, but our lives, the memories of us, live with others. Our life, the stardust of our existence, the atoms of us, live on in this universe.
Amen.
Amen.
listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rusting trees. They are in the rosy woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in a wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Let us be quiet without and within. Let the stillness be in us. Let the silence hold us. Let us find the deep places within. The quiet is within us. The stillness is in us. The silence will hold us. There are deep places in our soul. Let us continue in this time of meditation and reflection with these words from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. In the daily weave of our lives, those who have died are still strong, guiding threads. Theirs is the golden glimmer, or perhaps the brilliant red, or the melancholy blue. Still, they are part of the whole cloth of our lives. They are our ancestors, the goers before. And through this, we know immortality. In the hour-to-hour rush of our daily tasks, they travel with us through something they taught us, which is now ours to do. Through something they loved, which is now ours to carry out. Through something we shared, which is now ours alone and yet not. And through this, we know immortality. In the minute-to-minute grasp of where we are, we remember the joys our departed gave us, which opened us up to hope. The sorrows we knew together, which taught us strength. The life shared, which is now ours to steward. And through this, we know immortality. In the second-to-second pulse of life, we sense the spirit of those we have loved and lost. This presence is too shy for naming, too amorphous for full knowing, and yet as real as the days we shared. And through this, we know immortality. Our ancestors are more than remembered. They are memory itself, for what we love lives on in the way our beloved dead accompany us through our life. Their words and wisdom, our guide, their humor, our relief, their restless concern for the world, our charge. And through this, we know immortality. And holding our ancestors, our memories, our remembrances, we enter the silence together, reflecting on the immensity of life and the way we cycle and tumble through it. We reflect on how each of us are made in an intricate manner to connect to one another. We remember that we need one another. We are interreliant, and this pattern of interreliance is repeated in logical and mysterious ways throughout the cosmos. The next sound we will hear will be the bells tolling for our loved ones who have physically departed this plane, but who are deeply, deeply connected to us in our hearts, in our bones. Just hold the silence as the silence holds us, and rise in memory and mourning. May it be so.
The offering we receive at Cedar Lane every Sunday and at all our UU congregations is a symbolic and real way of demonstrating our commitment to the mission and ministry of our faith. Today at Cedar Lane, we share our offering with DMV Racial Justice Now. RJN envisions a world free of structural anti-Black racism in education and beyond, and organizes to advance human rights. I invite you to support the important work of DMV Racial Justice Now by texting 73256 plus CLUUC $, or by giving online or on PayPal, QR code, by mailing a check to the church, or placing your gift in the offering plate. However you choose to give, we are grateful for your generosity and support. Thank you.
I am the child, the son of Camille and John, who are the children of Olame and Thomas. My father's line is lost to me after this. Olame is the daughter of Lily, who was the daughter of Melinda, an enslaved woman who was freed, walked a very long time from Arkansas to Turkey Creek, Mississippi, with her husband, and bought half a town in 1866. Turkey Creek, Mississippi, like Arkansas, like the waters that carried my ancestors over, like the continent that we came from, lives in my spirit. It is in my DNA. I am the child of the enslaved, and in my DNA, through rape and misogyny, I am the child of the enslaver. I was sitting in a class at Meadville Lombard Theological School, the one that Dana and I talked about before, multicultural, multiracial congregations, how to build multicultural and multiracial congregations. And I had just sent away, maybe a month or so before, for my 23andMe results. And my siblings joked with me, "You are black, mixed with black. It'll be fine." And I said, "But there's more to the story. There's more to the story. I want to know what the story is." And in that classroom, I got the results. As I traced the lineage of enslavement from continent to continent, there was a sinking in my body. The languages that my ancestors learned, the stories that they told and the languages that they lost. I could almost hear them. And then I looked down and it said that I was 16% Northern European. And I said, wow, 16%. That's like a great-grandparent. That's pretty close. I don't think people think about it in those ways. I had to sit with that. And in that time, being from Mississippi, Turkey Creek, Mississippi, a place where enslaved Africans found a way to learn to read, to count money, to save it, to not get caught, to find a way to buy land, to learn the legal system, and to build a place where they could be. I started to remember again that 16% was really minuscule in my story. In my story, there are many, many things that influence the reasons that I am here today. And most of my life can be traced to just a few things, really. When we get down to it, most of our lives can be traced to those fundamental things that happen to us early in our developing stages. I was born as the love child of my parents who had already separated, and somehow my charming father convinced my mother that they should just try one more time. Thank God. They did. And then they thought this was a horrible idea. So I am 8 years younger than my brother, 7 years younger than my other brother, and 5 years younger than my sister. I, however, do have a sister who is about 300 and something days younger than me, and a brother who is about 300 and something days older than me, who do not belong to my mother. He was very charming. He is very charming. Also, growing up in my community, because I was so much younger than everyone else, everyone was at school, all I had were the people who were still at home. I grew up in a poor working class community, so the people at home were the elderly people in my community. I learned everything from my mother and from them. I learned how to read at 3 by reading the obituaries because I didn't know where my friends went. And my mother just got tired of telling me, so we learned how to read. Some of my closest friends taught me the most beautiful lessons of life. All of this, Miss Pearl would say, baby, all of this is gonna go away one day, and then all that really matters is gonna be here. I had to be about 30 before I really understood what that meant. And Zeke, who was a military vet from Vietnam, I believe, who was a paraplegic and very angry, but he loved children. He loved children, and he would tell me, come here, one thing you got to know about this life is to keep your head on a swivel. I was 3. I had no idea what that meant. But he was right. In life, you need to keep your head on a swivel. And Miss Annie Jo, who was the neighborhood alcoholic, deep, deep in her substance abuse, who had so many stories of loss. And no one truly understood what was going on, but everybody loved her anyway. And she would say to me, "Look here now, you can't be playing all those games on my stoop, making all that noise so early in the morning." I learned about boundaries from her. And she would also say, "Come here, baby. They don't want to play with you, that's okay. I play with you." I learned about boundaries from her. I learned that people aren't always the things that you expect them to be, that people are so much both and that when we decide to put them into boxes of either or, we miss out on so much of who they really are. And the last thing was my brother Yusuf Ali, my brother who I've named myself after. Yusuf was the youngest of the brothers, and he was murdered at 9 years old in the Atlanta child murders. Yusuf was brilliant by all accounts. He was small for his age, he was fun, he loved science and music, and he was gifted, and he loved school to a degree. But what Yusuf knew about me and what I knew about Yusuf was that he was mine and I was his. There's a story that he would get in trouble for taking me out of the crib and putting me in the bed with the other kids. Even though we all had beds, we kind of slept in a puppy pile. And so my mother would go and search for her 1-week-old baby, and the baby would be in the puppy pile. Somehow she was kind of upset about that. And so she would say to Yusuf, "You cannot take the baby out of the crib." And he would say, "But this is my baby." And she would say, "You cannot take the baby out of the crib." And he would say, "But this is my baby." And so it went. And finally, Yusuf decided, "I won't take the baby out of the crib, but I'll get in the crib with the baby." And so for most of my young life, what I remember is being protected by Yusuf in my crib until Yusuf was no longer, when I was 3 years old. But one thing I remember is that Yusuf taught me about fog, something that my mother reiterated to me when Yusuf died. One day I asked Yusuf, "Why is it so cloudy out here?" And Yusuf said, "It's fog. It's when the clouds come to the ground." And after Yusuf died, I asked my mother, "Where's Yusuf?" And she said, "Yusuf is in heaven." But I knew from my understanding that heaven was somewhere above the clouds. So that meant that I could walk to Yusuf and find him. And out I would go every day that it was cloudy and start to walk. And every day someone would assure me that I couldn't walk to heaven. But I knew that they didn't know what they were talking about because Yusuf told me that fog was clouds on the ground and that heaven was above the clouds. For many people, this story of loss and separation at such a young age would put them in a place of endarkenment, a place in which there was no trust of people, a place in which depression would start to eat away. And at some points in my life, it has. I've missed my brother tremendously in all of the parts of my life. And one thing I also learned is that those who have died have never, ever left. I was a child who also just didn't understand traditional Christian religion. I learned very early after losing Yusef that if I just put my feet in the grass and let the sun touch my face, it felt very much the same as being with Yusef. It felt very much the same as feeling whole and safe and protected. And so I would tell my mother, I'm going to go outside and be with Yusef. And she would say, that's a good idea. You should listen. You should listen for him. I bet you he has something to tell you. And eventually, I understood what she meant. In the listening, I heard the things that I needed to hear. As an adult, I could say what I heard was from my own imagination. But as a child, I will tell you that what I heard was the voice of my brother leading me and guiding me in ways that I needed at a time that I needed them. What I heard was Yusef saying, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's hard, but we're going to be okay. Do you see how sparkly that rock is over there in the water? Put your feet in that water. And I would. I would walk to the stream and I would put my feet in the water and the water would move and I would watch the light dapple the water and I would watch the dark dapple the water. And eventually, just as the water flowed, so would all of my emotion flow. And I would just be. It was the one place that no one was asking me how I felt, what I wanted, what could I do for you? It was the one place that I could just be and feel. I could scream. I could be silent. And in those moments with Yusef, I could hear my higher calling. What could I do with all of this? As a child, that wasn't exactly the question. The question was, how can I make other people not feel like I feel? How can I help other people know that all they have to do is put their feet on the ground and make the sun touch their face and smell the flowers? And when you dig in the dirt, it smells good. And when it smells good, you feel better. How can I make other people know that? And that's when I realized that what I needed to do, what fulfilled me, was helping. Helping and listening and building community. And you would think that that meant that that was my call to ministry. It didn't come that easily. So I was a social worker. But the thing about being a social worker with a spiritual call is eventually you become a minister. Sometimes. Or social work is your ministry, both and. And in the things that I've learned about social work and ministry is that there are three things that happen. In both of them, listening is key. There's a book that said, Rabbit Listened. I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's a children's book. It's about a little boy, something happens, his blocks get knocked down, and all the animals of the forest come and try to help him, and they do all of these magnificent things to help him. But what he really just needed was someone to listen to him. And when the one animal, rabbit, listened, he was able to sort it all out for himself. He was able to feel what he felt, not escape it, not put things on top of it, not run from it, just be. Just be in it, in the moment, in the time. And when he did that, eventually, he was able to build again. Not the same thing, because the time had passed. He could never build that same thing, but the thing that he did build was beautiful, and he loved it, and it had meaning for him. I'm going to end this with a story about a little girl that I met when I was doing chaplaincy in Atlanta last year. This little girl surprised me. And after being a social worker for 20 years, there are not very many things that surprise you, but she surprised me. I walked into the room, and I was actually just riding the elevator, and one of the hospice social workers said, "Oh, Ali, great. It's good that you're here. Our chaplain is not here, and I need you to meet this little girl." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "There's a family. You just need to go in the room. Everything is about to happen now." And I said, "All right." So I walked in the room, and I'm expecting a little girl, maybe 8, maybe 9. She was 4. And I thought, oh, God, this is not cool. Well, I guess I'll see if I'm healed or not. And she looked at me with her bright and shining eyes. She was so full of joy, which did not check out with what that social worker had just told me. And she said, "It's a dream come true." And I said, stunned, and I put this face on. "It's a dream come true?" "Yes, it's a dream come true." And I said, "Oh, tell me more about that." And she said, "My grandfather is dying." And I thought, oh, okay. Okay. I said, "Oh, and that's a dream come true?" And she said, "Yes." So social work brain kicked in, and I'm like, oh, wow, what does this mean? But then I said, "You are not a social worker in this situation. You are a minister." And I employed my theological understanding of death and dying, and I asked her, "What makes this dream so special for you?" And she said, "My grandfather, when he was alive, he was so happy. He was so full of happiness and joy, but then he got really, really sick. And now he can only lay down. And now he's really, really sick, and he is in a lot of pain. And it hurts me that my grandfather is in pain. But it's a dream come true, because now he's not going to be in pain, because he's dying." And I thought, wow, this is great. She's ahead of the curve. She understands dying. This is wonderful. My job is going to be easy here. And then she said, "What is dying?" And I said, "Tell me about what you think dying is." Looking at all of the adults in the room who all of a sudden had better things to do. And she said, "I don't know, but I think it's like going to sleep." And I said, it's kind of like that. Understanding her human developmental phase of death and dying by the Yale Childhood Study Center, it purports that school-age children have an understanding of death, of leaving the body, but not a real understanding. It's kind of a magical thinking age about death. So the study states that children are beginning to understand that the death is not reversible, but still abide by magical thinking of death. She had many questions about death that her family was unwilling to answer because they were grieving. So when she asked, what's going to happen to him when he dies? And she asked just like that, all very excited. I clarified her question again. I looked at her parents, and they just nodded, like, please do this for us. And so I answered her question in language that she could understand. I first addressed her absolute understanding of the death of his physical body. I said, when your grandfather dies, he will not wake up. His body will stop breathing and it will stop functioning. Do you know what functioning means? And she said, yes, it won't move anymore. It will be broken. And I said, it won't be moving anymore. It won't work anymore. And there won't be a way to make it work again. But then we talked about his spirit. And this is where I was so happy to be a UU minister, because I got to tell her, some people believe that when our lives end, that's it. We're all done. And some people believe that we live on in other people's memories. And some people believe that we go to a place that's like not here, it's like in a spirit place, and we live there and we are waiting for something to happen where we all come again. And some people believe that we live on in love. And she sat and she started to think for a while. And I just let her think. I employed Fowler's theory of faith for her age, with intuitive projective faith, in which it is believed that children use symbols to address their developing faith. They don't have the language, but they intuit a sense of right and wrong and a deeper sense of how God, if they believe, may influence the universe. So when she was quiet for a while, I asked her, would you like to say goodbye to your grandfather? And she said yes. So I took out my oil, anointing oil that I carried at this very Christian hospital, and I poured it into her hand. It's extra virgin olive oil. And I said, now let's rub your hands together. She rubbed them together, and I said, and this employs touch, we are going to think about all of the good times. Let's everybody rub our hands together. All of the good times that we had with your grandfather. And she started to close her eyes and think. And then I want you to put your hands on your grandfather's cheeks and hold his face just like I'm sure he has held yours. And she said, yes, he does this all the time. And I said, great. And I said, now I want you to say to your grandfather all of the things that are in your heart. And she started to whisper to him lots of things. And then I told her, great. Now, with a little bit of oil, I gave her a little more, I want you to take a heart and I want you to draw a heart on his arm. And she said, because I believe that when you die, you live on in love. And I said, that's great. So this will work great for you. And she drew the heart on him. And then she said, Grandpa, I love you. And you're going to live on in my heart, and then I'm going to tell my friends and my children about you, and then you're going to live on in their hearts, and then they're going to tell people, and you're going to live on in their hearts. And so it's okay, because your body's going to stop working, but you're never, ever going to be away. And see, the thing is that I never said that to her. That was her ancestors speaking. Our ancestors speak to us when we need them. And then she put her hands to her face and she said, do you smell that? It smells just like the flowers that my grandma plants. And I said, does it? And she said, yeah, smell it. It smelled like EVO to me, but I said, it smells like so many memories. And she said, yeah, it's good. And it was good. A universal truth I've learned is that no matter what is happening, we can't push ourselves through a point of sadness. We can't push ourselves through a point in which we are feeling despondent or in grief. We can be in it. And in times, we will ride it just like we ride the waves of life. And the only way we get through is by going through. A prayer that I said quite often that I hope that you can put into your own theological understanding. I said this often with people who felt completely lost, people who had a Christian understanding, people who had horrible things happen to them but felt completely alone. I felt compelled at 3 o'clock in the morning to get up and write this in here. So someone may need this. And I'm going to ask everyone else to use your own theological understanding in hearing this. This is a prayer by Thomas Merton in a book, In Thoughts and Solitude. Thomas Merton spent a lot of time in dark places, in caves, etc. He was a pretty awesome person. So in the hospital, especially in places where no one could go, in COVID rooms and in incarceration wards, this prayer got lots of people through. And the prayer goes like this. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I'm following you and your will does not mean that I actually am doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope that I have desire in all that I'm doing. I hope that I'll never do anything apart from that desire. And I know that I do this, that if I do this, you'll lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, I will trust you always, though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death. I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me. You will never leave me to face my perils alone. Your ancestors will never leave you. Listen more often to things than to beings. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Voice
you.